Appreciate everybody being here. Phenomenal week last week. Great win by our players down in Lafayette. Very tough place to win. Hats off to Coach Dez and his group for battling. Got to get ready for a really tough challenge this week. ULM is a really good team. If you just watch the film with no scoreboard, no stats, no records, they're probably 3 or 4 plays away from being in a totally different situation. So got a lot of respect for Coach Vincent. Well-coached team. They play hard. They're big. Probably the most physical team we've played collectively at our level. They do a really good job. Really stress you on offense with their offense. Really stresses you on defense. A lot of different formations, a lot of different personnel groupings. Some really good players in some good spots. They're tough. They're physical. They're big up front. I think Coach Vincent does a really good job of being creative with sets and formations and motions and play packaging. It's going to be a really tough challenge for us. And then obviously on defense for them, they're big up front. Probably the best D-line at our level that we've played. As far as physicality, size, the ability to rotate guys, they're violent. Like I say, when you turn the tape on, you don't know what their record is because they play with such effort, energy. So it's going to be really challenging. We've got a lot of work to do. We have to change some things that we do defensively, so we may not look like what we've seen us defensively coming up this week. Obviously, homecoming, great environment. Really excited to get everybody here. It's going to be a really good environment here in the Rock. Weather's supposed to be great. Great opportunity for us coming off the road in 2 weeks and getting a chance to play here at home. So really excited. That opened up a question.
Coach, the chance of this program to reach 6 wins, especially this early on, what would that mean for this program and just for your staff and what you guys are building right now?
Yeah, I think obviously anytime you get a chance to extend your season, I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful for the seniors to get another game of film for their future. I think it's always helpful for your young guys in your program to get another month of practicing from a development standpoint. I think it's helpful from a recruiting standpoint that you're going to be playing one more game than a lot of other teams in the country. Program-wise, it gives our fans an opportunity to make plans in December to go somewhere. But it all comes back to we still got to maximize this opportunity. We're not there yet. I told the team in the meeting, we're probably 4 or 5 plays away from looking at this thing totally different. So we've got to figure out a way to close the gap on those 4 or 5 plays that have gone our way that really maybe, I won't say shouldn't have, but couldn't have gone our way, could have gone another way, and make sure that we take full advantage of this opportunity. I think, again, anytime you can get to a bowl game, I think it helps the entire program community-wise. It gives us an opportunity to do something that has not been done around here in a very long time. I don't take the fact that, you got a bunch of new players. It's hard to get 105 people on the same page to do anything. So for us, I think it would be a huge step that we're moving in the right direction. It's not the ceiling, but to me, it is the foundation of what we want to be able to do consistently. You look at the teams that consistently make bowl games, typically they have developed some guys over time. You go 2 and 3 and 4 years of making bowl games, that's 2 and 3 and 4 more months of football that your guys get to play. So if you bring a freshman in and he goes to 3 bowl games, well, that's 3 more months of football that he gets to play than freshmen who don't. So I think from an overall global standpoint, it's always good to have that consistency because it helps your program develop over time.
Coach, last week, 58 plays offensively. A few things that could have factored in. The wind was probably a problem at times. You mentioned earlier that they did some things to keep you guys off the field offensively. Could you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, no, I thought ULL did a really good job. We expect the same thing from ULM. You can't play fast break football with our offense without having a fast break offense. So if you are an offense that is either one new quarterback, ULL, they're a ball control offense anyway. So it looks like, or it makes it feel like, well, we slowed them down. Well, I think we got the ball 10 times. We've been getting the ball 15 times. So even if we don't score on all of them, you score 2 more times. So typically teams that have that mentality, which is a great mentality, if you can take care of the ball and you don't turn it over and you can walk the ball down the field 12, 13, 14, 15 plays. You look up, the first quarter's over, you only got the ball once. It puts a fast break offense in a scenario where every series is at a premium. And that's what I talked to our guys about before last week's game is we can't let the fact that we may not get the ball as much stress us. Because sometimes what happens is you get the ball 1-2 times a quarter, you look up, oh, it's second quarter, we got 7 points. It's like, man, we're not doing something. So you got to really focus on it. I think that's Iowa does the same thing. They're kind of a methodical offense, the ball control. They want to eat the clock up. They want to move the chains. What we have to do defensively is we've got to get stops. And then offensively, our series or our possessions are at premium. You go down and you turn the ball over, you really have lost 2 series if you kind of really look at it. So we expect the same thing this week just because of, the type of offense that they play, which is not a bad, doesn't mean you're not going to score points. It just means you're more of a ball control, methodically move the ball down the field type operation. So we've got to be prepared to maximize our drives on offense, and then we've got to still get off the field on defense. That makes it really difficult when you give up, 3rd and 6 becomes like 4th and 6, because if you can get off the field, well, you've got to football back to your offense with more time on the clock. If they convert that 3rd and 6, which maybe in the first quarter is not really that glaring, but that allowed them to take that drive from 8 plays to 15 plays, and for them, that's kind of what they want to be able to do.
It was a couple weeks ago you were talking about pass breakups, and then it's been 6 out of 7 games you guys have come up with turnovers. I wonder how you feel like the defensive backs have improved, over the course of the year, especially after last week.
Yeah, I think they're taking advantage of the opportunities. We still broke up 2 that we probably should have. If you can get both hands on the ball, you should catch it. I mean, that's the beauty of it. But I think what's starting to happen is they're playing with a lot of confidence. I think our communication has improved on the back end, which allows things pre-snap to kind of get solved before you get kind of in the middle of the play. I think they're doing a really good job. A lot of times what you see is if you're getting a lot of interceptions, typically your backfield is not as involved in the run game as much. I think we're doing a really good job of balancing the two. I think Coach Calhoun and Coach Bowman do a really good job of emphasizing eye discipline so your eyes can take you to your keys and where you're supposed to be. And I think our players are doing a good job of executing. That's it. I mean, you can coach, you can drill, and you can practice. If they get out there on Saturday and do something different, it doesn't make sense. So I think our players are doing a good job of executing. I think they're creating some confidence because of their execution. And then I think our coaches are doing a good job of drilling the fundamentals that they need to go out and be successful.
You guys have had to win in different ways in different games, shootout at Georgia Southern, kind of a defensive battle there in Louisiana. Is that good to win in multiple ways to set you up for the rest of the season?
I think it's always good to win. I think you can learn from both is what's the most important, because there's going to come other situations. This weekend will probably be very similar to last weekend. You're going to have to be able to grind out a win or be very opportunistic, if that makes sense. So I think once you're able to have success in kind of both lanes, you learn how to survive in both lanes. And what you learn is, okay, hey, we've been here before, now we're not uncomfortable. We've still got to be able to focus on what we need to focus on the next play, come up with a play. I thought we did a really good job of playing complementary football last week. We got turnovers, we got 10 points off the turnovers, they got none. So although it's a small stat, 10 points, it's huge, because if they get 0 points off turnovers, but we can get 10, that's a huge momentum swing in a game that's very methodical, if that makes sense. If you're going and, it's going to be 55 to 56, it may not show up as much, but I think when you're talking complementary football, hey, our defense got us the ball back, and we got points off of it. I think that's a huge momentum swing. I think it helps the other side of the ball. Defensively, if we get a turnover and we drive down and turn it back over, it's a little, deflating. But I think once you're able to win in both scenarios or multiple scenarios, you're able to learn, what it takes to win different ways.
Talk a little bit about the 98-yard touchdown pass. just couldn't see it on TV. Was Braylon seeing man or cloud, or did he check?
Yeah,
to
no,
it?
actually, Coach Anderson, checked to it based on the coverage they were playing. They were kind of squatting on some routes. Most of the time, it's one of those football adages, most of the time, 3rd and 14 backed up, you're probably not throwing a go ball, you're probably trying to throw or run the ball to get a little bit of yards to punt it away, or throw some type of, dig or in right near or at the sticks to see if you could get it. And Coach Anderson saw them kind of squatting on the play before, if that made sense. Got an opportunity to get one-on-one coverage on the outside. Safety, tight end did a good job of just holding the safety long enough to get Micah out. Thought our O-line did a great job protecting. Braylon made a phenomenal throw, hit him in stride, and it probably was the play of the game that took momentum, took the thought of, hey, we can come back, hey, we're in this, because you think if we punt there, they probably get the ball near midfield. They're thinking we can go down and get points on the board, we're still in it. There are some, I always say there's not one play that wins a game, but one play can change a game, and that probably changed the game. You don't get to see it, but when you watch it on the coach's copy, like our defense is on the sideline, and they're with their coaches going over the series, and they're starting to talk about, okay, hey, we get the ball at midfield, where's their field goal range, and they're doing that, and when they throw that pass, the entire bench gets up and starts sprinting down the sideline. So you talk about a huge momentum swing, for, I don't know how long the play lasts, but for 30 seconds, 40 seconds there, it completely changed the dynamic of the game. We've been able to make some of those plays. We probably think back here, Ian Foster's pick going against App. Just some huge momentum swings. We've been able to make some of those plays. What I've been talking to our guys about is we've got to get some of those plays that aren't as flashy a lot more consistent. I love the flashy, don't get me wrong. But there are some plays where we miss a tackle and turn a 4-yard run into an 8-yard run. There are some plays where we miss a completion that would have been taken from 3rd and 9 to 3rd and 3. There's some plays where we don't just finish a block and a run could spit out. So we've got to also enjoy the flash and keep making those plays. But there are some plays in the middle there that we got to be as attentive to and cleaning up and doing as well.
Another play that was huge in that game was that fumble on the goal line, Louisiana. Can you just speak on your defensive line and their ability to punch the ball out? Yes, but also just stifle the run game from both
Yeah,
opponents.
it goes back to how we practice. We put a lot of time in trying to force turnover. Those are the two stats that matter the most, right? Turnover and explosive plays. So we put most of our practice focus on those types of things, right? How do we prevent explosive plays, gap sound on defense, being in your gap, having the right tackle fundamentals. How do you create turnovers? Obviously, catching the ball, taking care of the ball, punching the ball out. And on offense, how do you create explosive plays, right? Finishing blocks, protecting, getting plays down the field. Our defense has that mentality, suffer well. If there's a blade of grass to defend, we got to defend it. They have a lot of confidence in our short yardage package because it's very consistent, if that makes sense. It's amazing. I don't know if you guys paid attention. Avery Sledge goes in 5 plays, and he has 5 impactful plays. Punches the ball out, huge tackle for a loss, and another one. So you just talk about a guy that's maximizing his opportunities. A couple weeks ago, he got a fumble recovery out here. The guy finds the ball. So we've talked about we got to find a way to get him more opportunities, and those are the things that a lot of guys are, sometimes you struggle with. I don't have as many plays or reps. All right, well, Chris and Mike are playing pretty good, so I can't get upset. So what do? I prepare and I wait for my opportunity. My opportunity comes, I make plays. But I think defensively, we've got a lot of confidence in our ability to play with cohesion. And that's how you have goal line stands. That's how you have short yardage stands. That's how you do stop the run. Now, we got good players, so me and you could go out there and run the same defense and they'd probably score. But we got good players, but they got trust in each other. Hey, I know I got my gap. I know you got your gap. I know you're going to fit your gap. I'm going to do my responsibility so I don't have to try to you think about Jacksonville State. Chris Jones doesn't have to try to play the run and the quarterback. I got the quarterback. So I'm waiting for the quarterback because I trust that you other 10 guys are gonna do your job. And that's what we have on defense right now. We got a lot of cohesion and trust in each other. It's because of how they prepare. They know, they all watch film. When you watch our guys practice, the way we've practiced the last couple of weeks has been at a completely different level. Not perfect, but the energy, the accountability, the vocal leadership, the nope, that's not how we're gonna do it. They run on the field, run off the field. They're starting to take accountability for what they see on Saturdays. Obviously, we got to continue to do that. And that doesn't mean we go out and win every game, but when you get to that level, in moments where the ball's on the goal line, in moments where it's a short yardage, in moments where you got to come up with a big play, everybody's already trusting that everybody has done what they need to do to make those plays.
Coach, off the growth of Avery, kind of speak to your point in the season where you're starting to see some of these secondary guys, these depth pieces get better and better. Kind of speak to, them coming in and there's not the drop off there was maybe 4 or 5 games ago.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit to our process. We practice a lot. Most teams get into this part of the season and they start cutting practice back. We don't. We still get as many reps with our 1s, 2s, and 3s. We still do good on good every week, regardless of where we are, in the season. So what happens is now, when the 2s were getting half the reps, at the beginning of the season, those halves add up. So now when they get to the back end of the season, they really have played, we've played 7 games. So in theory, the 2s have played half of that because they've been able to practice and sprinkle in some games. So by nature, they get better. So because of how we practice, because of our process, it allows you to develop on the move, if that makes sense. Because you're gonna get into a situation where you need that backup, or you need to rotate. And the only way to get them ready is to get them ready. You can't just say, hey, we're going, 20 plays in this period, you get 3, and the 1s get the rest, and expect them to be ready. So we do it all. We do half and half with everything we do. So that way, everybody's getting reps, everybody's getting ready. So now when it comes time to start banking reps or accumulating reps, those 2s now have actually played a good bit. I credit BA and his staff for getting the guys physically ready to do that. I credit our guys for taking rehab and regen and all that stuff seriously each week so we can go out and practice that way. When we get later in the games, our guys start to rely on the fact that, well, we've already repped 200-300 plays in practice, so to go another 20 plays in this fourth quarter is nothing. And it starts to really build some confidence, and you start to get development on the move. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people talk about development, they're talking, well, next year, next year. That's not where college football is now. You got to be able to develop on the move. Does that mean that he's going to go from a 3 to a starter? No. But does Avery Sledge go from 3 or 4 plays a game to maybe 15 or 20? That's a huge difference.
Speaking of that too, Javon Tapp has been a guy who's been very explosive. What have you seen with his intensity and what he's brought to your defensive line to boost it?
Yeah, his preparation is going through the roof. He's actually started to practice I won't say seriously, but he's practicing with intent. He's always practiced serious, but now he's actually in his mind when he hears the defensive call and he sees the offensive set, he's playing the game in his head. So now when he gets in the game, he's already seen it, he's already done it. He's also starting to hold people accountable around him. Whenever your best players or your best leaders, you got a really good chance. So I think what he's starting to do is he's starting to see success from his process. And a lot of times what happens is young kids see success from their process and their process stays the same. Well, the success is gonna drop off. What you gotta do is you gotta see success from your process and you gotta add as it goes. Maybe adding more rehab, maybe adding more film, maybe adding more reps, depending on what you need to do. We can't do the same thing we did week 1 and think we're gonna play better in week 7. So you gotta add to it. And adding to it doesn't mean you go from, a 2-hour practice to a 6-hour practice. Adding to it means, well, maybe I was spending an hour in the training room, now I gotta spend an hour and a half. Maybe I was watching an hour of film, now I gotta watch 2 hours because there's actually 7 games out there. And I think Jamon has really done a good job of adding to his process each week, which is allowing him to continue to have success, which is allowing him to continue to be, we talked about instinctive. You're instinctive because you've seen it, repped it, know what's coming. All of those things come through your preparation and your process. And I think he's done a really good job of tying the two together. His process and preparation with his talent.
Coach, back to you, Ron. A lot of storylines this year, he's one of the better stories going forward. Can you talk about, you take that success story and present it to recruits on the recruiting show, how big that is for your program?
Yeah, I think, one of the reasons why he was willing to listen to us, because we had a Mike Green success story, and we were able to show actual film of what he would be doing positionally and what he would have an opportunity to do. On top of that, they are two different people, two different players, so he still had his ability to add, okay, here's what, he was able to do, here's what I'm able to do. So now we got two stories. If we get a player that is more athletic, Tap-like, or more athletic, Mike-like, we've got two stories. And I think what happens is, although we get to create a narrative in-house of how effective you can be, how you can make the right decision and not the expense decision, the more we're able to do that, the more these young men are able, Tap's gonna be able to walk away from here and say, hey, it wasn't about going to the best money situation, it was going to the best situation. Hopefully that helps him make a better situation in life with what car to buy, what house to buy, what job do I take? So it goes both ways. He's able to help us continue to be successful in recruiting and developing young men. And hopefully because of this process going the right way, he's able to take some lessons and apply to his life. Maybe, when he gets out of here, he invests his money a different way because he realizes that, hey, it's not about how much, it's about what you do with the opportunity. For us, maybe there is another young man who's gonna hit the portal, who's got talent, who may say, hey, I need to go somewhere where I can get film and not dollars. And ultimately, it gives us an opportunity to say, okay, hey, this is real life. This is real, tangible evidence of two young men who had every opportunity in the world to go make money and chose to make film. And that's why they're able to be successful.
In what ways do you feel like, ULM provides a really good challenge for your team Saturday?
Yeah, they're tough and they're physical. That's the first thing. And you can solve a lot of problems with physicality. I think they do a really good job offensively of being creative, which again, defensively, you got to kind of match personnel, you got to match formations. You can be in the right spot, but be a gap short really fast. They've got good backs. They've got good receivers. They do so much on offense that looks the same that you can't really say, okay, hey, because this guy's standing here, this is what they're doing. And then defensively, their D-line is really good. And obviously, you look all through the league, the teams that have good D-lines typically have success. So it's gonna be a war between our O-line and D-line. It's gonna be a battle. And then we're gonna have to be really, really good on defensive tackling in space, because they're gonna put some formations together where you're not gonna be able to get population to the ball. You're gonna be able to get one guy in the fit, and everybody's gonna have to play their gap. And then we gotta be really opportunistic on offense, because we may not get the ball 15 times. So we've gotta do that. We gotta take care of the ball on offense, and we gotta try to take it away on defense. And then we gotta understand that it's not gonna be easy. They're fighting. Like I said, when you put on the film, if you don't look at the scoreboard, you can't tell they're winning or losing, which is a mark of a well-coached team. A lot of respect for Coach Vincent and what they do. You can't tell that, hey, this play is play 1 and this play is play 60. They look the exact same. So that means they're gonna play for 60 minutes. So we've gotta be prepared to do that as well. We've gotta be prepared to take advantage of whatever opportunities come. And then we've gotta go create some opportunities, which means we've gotta be able to make some plays when we get an opportunity.
Anything else?
I got one, I always have one, Coach. Talk about kicking a little bit. We've used a lot of kickers, some because of injuries and some for, I guess, special situations. So how do you kind of match the kicker to the other team and the way they do things?
Yeah, I think it's more about us. Obviously when we started this deal, we kind of had a plan that we would use Jack in punting and we would use Reed in kicking, and we had Creighton who was coming along, and then when we had our situation with Jack, it really put us in a situation where we had to speed Creighton up a little bit to take some off of Reed. I think what has happened now, we've gotten 2 weeks in where all 3 of those guys have kind of gotten into a groove. And it's not necessarily the game. The games are great, It's the load in practice. So if Reed is punting, kicking off, and field goal, that's a lot during the week, and then to turn around and get ready on the sideline. Us being able to split those duties up has really helped us lighten the load during the week, so we're more effective on game day. having Jack back and having him actually punting in flow and working out and kind of back into his normal routine has allowed us to have some flexibility in the punting game. And then Creighton being able to step up and take an opportunity and run with it has lightened the load on both of those guys. Again, it's not about who, it's about the execution. I think last week was probably our best kicking performance, right? Not just so we made everything, but collectively as a group, we were effective in flipping the field and punting. We were effective in downing the ball inside the 5-yard line, which was a huge, valuable piece when you're talking about an offense that's going to methodically walk the ball down the field. And then you talk about Creighton, who hits a huge momentum swing, to get points right there at the end of the half. So I think all three of those guys are starting to come into their own. I think, again, the ability for them to be able to have a routine and know going into the week, okay, this is my role, not, well, I got to punt today, I got to kick today. Is Jack coming back? I don't know if Jack's coming back. Well, he's back, but is he back? Well, Jack's back, but is he going? So without the confusion, and obviously that's adversity, we all got to deal with it. I think those guys have handled it well. They challenge each other. All three of them could do it all if we needed them to, but obviously it lightens the load and creates a little bit more execution on game day with the balance.
Anything else, guys? Coach, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.